Hey y'all. So we back, but my co-host is different this time. He a little darker than the usual co-host, but we
Yeah.
all know him as Mr. Cyrus, the gosh, the Duke Blue Devil fan himself, super fan. Um, but yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded. Life has just gotten in the way. It's not a bad thing. Kevin's busy. He's got, I don't even know. He used to have one job. Now he's back to two. Somehow, some way, he does that. Um, and I am a dad. So, to a 13-month-old that is terrorizing my life.
Oh, it only gets better. It only gets better.
Oh, yes, considering you have teenagers at this point, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, actually, and she's at a dance right now. So like
Oh, God. Please tell me you got to sit there did she, here's a question. Did she have a date?
no.
Oh, okay. So you didn't get to do the whole sit there pretending to load a shotgun and scare the shit out of the kid.
Not yet. I think that's pretty I think it's probably gonna be sometime next year though. I've got that they got that itch. Got that itch.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be sometime next year. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I have
I
to deal with the
might have to make a phone call to a couple of friends to come down and have things happen. But that's
oh,
besides the point though. Yeah.
now here's the question that now you have the boy too, so you're gonna have the opposite conversations or you're gonna do the same shit to him.
I think mom is going to be a little overprotective, so I think she's probably going to eradicate whatever that is. So I'm just going to let her go with that. So if she's going to make that the most embarrassing moment known to man, I'm okay with that. I really,
Oh,
really am.
I 100% expect when Luca is at that point in time and his age, I'm going to be like, just don't do stupid shit. And my wife is going to like go through everything that could go wrong 100%. And it would be the greatest thing in the world. Like he will hate his life. He'll be like, what? Why would you do that, Mom? Be like, just fuck around and find out, bro. And this is what you get. And that's what we say to him every single day now anyway. So it doesn't even
Oh,
matter.
just remember we were teenagers, right? I remember my mom embarrassed me. She's like, "Oh, so this is a cute girl." I'm like, "Oh, God, you're not really supposed to
Oh,
say that in front of her."
oh,
That's okay. All
my,
right. Thanks. Appreciate that. Right.
my parents would be like, oh, she's cute. Like, oh, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop. I'm not even dating this girl. It's just like a friend. And they're like, oh, she's cute though. You should date her. I'm like,
He went here. I'll tell you a real quick embarrassing story.
oh God.
I was at Rice University my first year. We were picking up. We were getting because I had a dorm room with a junior, so we had figured out how to put how you put the bunk beds on top. Like you figure once you
Yeah.
figure out, yeah. So they gave us the pole to put the bunk beds up. So my parents had a couch they were trying to get rid of, but they were like, "You can use it if you want to take it to school and use it." I'm like, "Sure, fine, I'll take it, whatever." It's a couch. It's a little love seat. Take it. So we went to go get it. And so happened I see one of the girls that one of these cute girls that I know from college at the train station. I was like, they were like, "Hey, what's going on?" It's like, "You going back to?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting ready to go," because we were getting ready to go back. It's like a there, like a the day we got us going back.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take you. I'll give you a ride back." And lo and behold, I see two or three other girls. I was like, my dad was like, "Well, you know them. You should just take them." I'm like, I was like, yeah, you could come. Like, and again, it was just me in the car. I didn't really. So me in a four in the sedan, and it was three other girls. So my intuition, I was like, well, hold on, can you wait can you wait at my mom's and dad's house while I putting some getting the couch? We're gonna take it. So yeah, I was told, oh, so they showed me some of your baby pictures and some of the other stuff. I'm like, yeah, that went well. So yeah, been
Cyrus
there,
lost
done.
all. Cyrus
Yeah,
lost all hopes at that point.
yeah, and
That was gone.
yeah, and when the girls actually liked me, it was just like it was really awkward. So it was like,
Yeah, I think whenever that happened in my life. I literally took all the like those photo albums and like hid them somewhere so my parents couldn't do that. So fantastic. But now that I'm married, who gives a shit? My wife has seen all those stupid pictures at this point.
Fun fact though, those pictures of mine still exist. My brother, because my brother took over the house. Those are now blackmail photos. And if you've seen my, if you're since you are friends with Facebook on me, some every now and then those do pop up as memories, and my brother does like to post them. So you may see a couple of them. Just yeah,
So, I was just a cute kid. I'm just happy my parents didn't ever show the pictures of me running around buck ass naked.
yeah, had that happen before too.
Yeah, my parents haven't done that part. Um, but well, Cyrus, thank you for joining. I know we're
No problem.
recording on Friday. This will probably come out in like 5 weeks. The way Andrew's been doing it. Andrew, I love you. I just have to give you shit because that's just how it is here.
We always have to give him shit. Ain't
Give
nothing
him
new about
shit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, but no. So because Kevin, I think he's working tonight. I believe he's working. Um, but yeah, so hopefully we'll be back to regular scheduled programming next week. I don't know. Life is
Hopefully. Yeah.
life is kind of crazy these days. And we literally were like, we're gonna get back to a normal schedule. That shit ain't happening. I think it happened for 2, 3 weeks, and then it was like holidays, work, holidays, work, another holiday. We got a lot going on in a very short amount of time, which is crazy to think. But now we'll get back to it. You know, let's talk because you have the Duke got stuff on right now. Cooper Flagg dropped 42.
hmm
I don't even know who they played, but whoever they played must have sucked.
No, they were playing Notre Dame.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so that he dropped 42 on Notre Dame.
And it wasn't like three pointers. It wasn't like
No,
three pointers
he's
glue. It was a mixture of buckets to the basket.
yeah,
He had a couple threes in there. I'm not gonna lie. He had like maybe like three or four threes in there, but like nothing. They weren't like splash threes. They weren't like, he
yeah.
came down, crossed over, boom, boom, boom. He was on the roll. It was like it was all within the flow of the offense. He didn't push anything. He got to his spots. I mean, it was like watching. It was just like watching, like, and I hate to say this because he's not that type of player, but you remember how Grant Hill used to be back in the day? Like
Yeah, where he
Grant Hill was never overpowering, like he was going to do something and like it was just explosive. Like, okay, he's going to drop four threes on you, do this, do that. Like he get to the bucket, he dunk on you, he do this, he do that. That's
he also
exactly how
wasn't
it
going to
was.
outmuscle you. He was just smooth. That was
Yes.
the game. He was smooth.
Right. And that's exactly how this was. And his game is starting to come around so well. And the
It,
rest of the team is starting to round out too. So
then I've seen I haven't watched, like, to be completely honest, like I haven't watched really any full college basketball games. I've watched a couple
mhm,
West Virginia games. Of course, I watched the Kansas game where they beat Kansas and
right.
Gonzaga and Arizona
And I watched a couple of those too.
like
Yeah.
I've watched those, but like I haven't watched any UNC games. I know UNC's been kind of up and down this year from what I've seen. They're still trying to figure out who they are without um
Bangkok and the
Bangkok
rest of
and a
the
couple of the other
rest of
guys
them.
in there. Um, but from what I've seen of Cooper Flagg, he has gone from a perennial high school recruit, right? Where
Mhm,
he was top five, really the number one recruit in the country
mhm,
out of Maine, which is ridiculous in my mind, because they're not known for anything up there,
mhm.
besides being vacation land.
Wow.
Um, but
It's my education.
but like you can see him going from a 17-year-old kid. Now I think he's 18
Yeah,
now,
he just turned 18 legal like 2
but
weeks
like
ago.
you can see him slowly mature.
Right.
And I know I said this earlier in a podcast a while back. I still think he should stay one more year. I think him staying one extra year, granted, he's developed a lot, but I think his development would take a huge step because right now, if he goes to what? The worst team in the league is the Wizards.
Yeah,
right?
but I
Somehow,
mean, but I'll be honest with you, they wouldn't. I don't think they
and
let's
somehow the
wait.
Wizards get that number one pick, and they
Right.
get him. How much
Yeah.
better will he get being on a team that is so bad fundamentally and in coaching, all of it? They're not good.
Right.
Like, how much does that affect things? Now, if he takes it next year in college, matures a little bit more, refines his game, adds more of that three-pointer, which
Mm,
he does have, but gets better at that and does a
mm.
couple other things, and he goes still to the Wizards, does he is he better? Right? That's
Yeah.
the question you have to start throwing out there for this kind of kid, for kids that are like him.
You know, he
Uh,
put you in the mind of, remember how they were having that same argument about Tim Duncan? Remember how Tim Duncan
Yeah,
was like his junior year, they were talking about him. Oh, well, or it's his sophomore going into junior year. Well, he's going to stay another year, season to get himself all set up to play or whatever it is. And then they were like, well, he should come out because he was going to be top. I think he was projected to be top 10. He wasn't projected to be first pick with his top. It was top 10. I forget what
yeah.
year because I think it was like somebody else was coming out before him and I was like a better power forward, a better player, supposedly, as far as like the grade material. But yeah, he came back for another year and he wound up being the number one pick. Just because he said I mean, I'm going to say it's an excuse. The excuse was he wanted to come back and win the NCAA championship. But we with the team they had with Wake Forest with the team they had, they knew they weren't going to win. They weren't going to win it. They weren't going to win an NCAA title, right? It was
Right.
just he had to say something, right? You couldn't just say I'm going to stay because I think I want to stay, right? Because then it would have sounded like you don't want to get paid. It would have flared them out. But yeah,
Oh, so he could have gone his sophomore year. They said he should have gone out. He would have been going against Joe Smith, Rasheed Wallace, Jerry Stackhouse in the 95 draft.
and that would and if you think about that, he would have the team he would never went to the Spurs. He would have went to somebody else.
And then 96 was, we all know that draft. That was one of the most loaded drafts we've ever
And again,
seen.
and right, and again, you're talking about him going to the perfect situation, which he would have never been in that situation.
Yeah,
He
and
would
then
he would have went to he would went to the podunk team of the God knows what, and you know,
yeah, and then he went to the Spurs, which was the best team for him. So that's the thing, is like using someone like say Cooper Flagg is the great example, because that's who we have right now.
mhm.
Is does he, he's probably making good money on his NIL deals, right? If
I'll be
not,
honest with you, his parents are probably loaded. Let's just be
oh yeah,
honest. I think his parents are probably loaded. I don't
yeah,
because
I
his brother, you heard his brother is actually his brother is taller than him now. I don't
yeah,
know if he's not better than him, but he's
no,
taller than him.
he's at
He's one.
UMaine.
Yeah,
Yeah, he committed to UMaine and he's
yeah,
staying local, but he's
right,
probably going to be there for a year, develop, and then leave.
right,
Um, but like I agree, probably well off, family's well off, got money,
right,
whatever.
right.
But like he's probably making decent money in NIL.
Probably
It's
so.
not NBA money. It's nowhere near NBA money.
Right.
But that NBA money is going to be there. That's always going to be there for him.
Well, he's probably. I'd say right now he's probably gonna. He's gonna have a. He's gonna have a. He's gonna have a. He's gonna have a. He's gonna have a major endorsement deal with Nike once he comes out.
No, he's a New Balance boy.
New Balance guy.
Yeah, so he signed a deal with New Balance right before the season,
Hmm.
because where he grew up in Maine is one of the New Balance factories is like right down the road. So
And then
he
right there you go. There you
so
go. I mean, yeah,
he's got a huge deal. He'll probably have, because he has to wear Nike, being at a Nike school, you have
right.
to follow those regulations. Once he comes out and he's actually is a pro athlete, I think you'll see him having the first true, like, I know we have Kawhi Leonard's shoe, and I think Jamal Murray
Yeah,
has one, but like they have never really produced those for the world.
right,
Really, it's really just been a small niche.
right.
Cooper Flag, you're going to get a great basketball shoe that's
Right.
going to be presented to everybody.
My only question with that would be, will he? And it has happened once in a blue moon, right? Will he change his mind after seeing Kawhi go through the knee injuries and all these players go through the leg and foot injuries that they've had with New Balance basketball sneakers? Only because, like you said, if he's staying in another year, they got to prolong it another year.
Right.
That means you have to sit there and watch these other players that are in their New Balance basketball sneakers. Like even Cameron Burke had an ACL tear with New Balance. So the question will be, do I rock with New Balance or do I go with works, right? And I'm not saying he won't stay with that, but
Right. No, yeah, we don't know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's a great question for him to have,
right.
you
But
know, at this
the
point
point,
in
my
his
point to
career.
saying that is that the money is there. The money's
Oh,
going to be there either way. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I would say, and I agree with you. Here's what I would say. I agree with you. I think he should stay another year. Just
I
me
think
personally, stay another year. Like you said, refine your game. Get to where you can have a 25, 10, and 5 game somewhat
consistently.
consistently. Because I
Yeah.
mean, over 82 games, I mean, you're talking about you're going from 35 to 40 games, depending how far you go in the tournament, what games you play in during the season, right? To 82 games. So now the question would be, consistency is your key now. You have to consistently be
Mhm.
that.
And then
So
he's going to be in summer league for 2 years easily. So
right,
you're going to add, say 10 games. Let's just say
right,
minimum 10 games, whatever, six, whatever the games. I don't even know how many they play anymore.
right.
So you have now 92 games. Oh, you're probably going to, and then the following summer, you're probably going to go play in the Drew League. You're going to probably go play in some of these other leagues, right,
Sure.
to keep your game going.
Right.
Good for you. One, if you notice, all the real good pros, they don't do that.
Right.
Take some break. But for him, he's young. He can do that. Um, but we'll see. I'm very interested to see what he does. Because if
Yeah.
he does go, he's the number one pick. Even next year, if he goes out, if he takes the year and goes next year, he's still going to
Mhm.
be the consensus number one pick.
Right.
There's no one better than him right now.
Right. Right.
So it'll be interesting. I know we could talk about Cooper all night. We could dive into 1,000 different layers of
Right.
college basketball and how this stuff works. But let's quickly we'll kind of bounce back and forth. Like I said,
Mm.
guys, this is going to be a quickish kind of episode just because we still have life to deal with. Um, Cyrus has to stay up all night when waiting for his daughter to come home, so he's just going to be chomping at the bit to make sure she's home. Uh,
Oh yeah, we
yeah, you ready? Ready to just boom, drop the kid? Yeah, I'm ready to. I'll come down to the Philly and Jersey area to help you out with that shit. Yeah, let's go.
oh anytime Uncle Mac can always come down to help out.
Um, Also talking about that because Andrew and I will be in New York in
Okay.
May. We're gonna go watch Kevin do his fitness. It's not CrossFit. I can't because he got mad at me for saying it was like a CrossFit thing.
Mm.
It's not CrossFit. It's whatever he does at the gym. They're doing a whole thing on Pier 76 in Manhattan.
What
So
day is this?
May 31st, I think, is what he's doing it. So we're going down on the 30th. We'll probably either leave the 31st or come back June 1st. So just a quick weekend trip. But we're
Let me
going
know.
down.
Let me know if I'm
Uh,
if I'm not doing anything. That sounds like
yeah,
a good way to support.
yeah, it's $15 for us to go watch. So I was like, all right, well, I'll come down. I'm cool with just chilling in the city for 2 days and getting the hell out of there, not coming back for 7 years. But let's quickly jump over to some of the bigger highlights that have been going on in the sports world because we've been off for like 3 weeks. One, Jimmy Butler now is
Yeah.
starting. He's starting tonight for the Heat. So he's playing for the first time in, I don't know, God knows when. Um, but the guy wants to be traded, doesn't like Miami anymore, but no team wants him. And any team that does want him, he doesn't want to go to.
Well, we all know what that is. He wants to go to a contender and win. The problem with him going to a contender and winning is that they have to give up assets. Most of those teams that he put down on that list, Phoenix, Golden State, and I forget who that third team was, they don't want to give up any of those assets.
Yeah.
So I mean, the teams that want to bring him, they don't want to give up. They want to give up the assets, but to pay. And this is where I part not I watching other podcasts and all these other NBA insiders and everything talk about it. The one thing it does stand out to me is that it looks like Pat Riley is in the way. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm saying he's just in the way of
That's what
progress.
he's been. That's how he's been for a while too. And it's like I said, it's not a bad thing, but it's also one of those things where you start questioning what he's doing
Right.
more.
And that's where I think I'm at with this. Like I just I like for me, I thought in the offseason when he was talking about they didn't go out and get these players, like he wanted Dame at one point. Um he wanted Dame, he wanted KD when he was out there. I think KD was even talking about leaving Phoenix at some point in time during the summer quickly. It wasn't a long time, it wasn't a long period. And one other player. I'm like, so you had a chance to get these players, they didn't get them, and they were standing pat. But all the bigger teams, all the better teams in the East were getting better.
Yeah.
So I don't know how Miami was going to get any better. I mean, yes, they picked up through the draft, but I mean, they didn't. It wasn't those players aren't impactful players enough to get you over the hump.
No,
That's the problem,
no,
right?
they are majority of their team is role players.
Right,
No offense to them. Being a role player in the NBA is freaking great because you can make a lot of money. Peyton Pritchard for the Celtics, he's a role player. He's
right,
most likely going to win Sixth Man of the Year this year,
right,
which is phenomenal. Good for him. But he's never going to be. I don't want to say never going to be because he could be a starter. He could be somewhere else.
right,
But Miami, majority of their guys are role players. Tyler Hero, Bam, and Butler, they're not role players. Everyone
right,
else, they're plug and play. Terry
right.
Rozier, plug and play. They have no. Do they have Lowry? No, they don't have Lowry.
No, Lowry's with the Sixers.
Yeah, I hate that guy. If there's an NBA player that I hate,
Well,
that
he's almost done. He's almost done. You don't have to worry about him. He's almost done. You got another year or two left. He's
I
almost
just
done.
despise the way he plays basketball. I just
He
despise
he went to
every little.
Villanova. Are you expecting any different?
Huh?
He went to Villanova. Are you expecting anything different?
Someone like Josh Hart who actually plays basketball hard.
All right. Well, all right. There's exceptions to the rule, but
Yeah, that's
yeah,
true. But like, yeah, so I could always just go off on a tangent on how much I hate that kid. Hate that kid. Him and his fat ass. Get out. Stop flopping. Stop bitching. God. Can't wait for this episode. This is just gonna be me bitching about stupid stuff. Um,
it's like watching cat flick. Anyway, sorry,
um,
sorry, I couldn't help it.
but yeah, so Butler's situation is kind of just ridiculous.
Yeah.
We have just under a month till the trade deadline. There's been a couple small trades. Um, I honestly do think if there's any team that's going to make a splash right now,
Hmm.
I kind of feel like it might be, and they're playing right now, and I have the game on. I think it might be Orlando because
If
because
yeah,
Wagner's out the rest of the season,
right.
and Paulo just came back.
Hmm.
They need something else because they're playing the Celtics. They're down by 10, but they're playing them pretty decent. But like,
They they have and I think it. So I think it's the older Wagner that's injured, right? The one that's
yeah,
out for the season.
the better
So
one, yeah.
yeah. So and he was, and honestly, what was happening was he was going to become the second banana to Pablo, to Pancaro. He
Mhm.
was going to be the second banana. Like that was going to be the 1-2 punch. Like, and he was starting to get that, and then he got hurt. I think that right now, if they were to make a splash, it would be a rental splash. Like we'll bring him in for a year.
Yeah, you take them in
We'll
for
bring
the rest of the season.
Yeah, and just hold on to him for a year, and then he can you ship him off, or he'll go someplace or whatever it is after the season's done. Um, I agree with that. The other team I think that will make a splash only because I think they're doing the undercover is Golden State. They
Oh,
made that they
Kaminga's gone. He's
Yeah, yeah. They made that trade for Schroeder. I think that that trade for Schroeder was to bring in another guy to either run the point or run the point with Steph without having to take stuff out of the game, you know.
yep,
Because before they had that luxury where they could take stuff they didn't have to take stuff out the game. They could put somebody else at point and let Steph roam, right?
yeah.
They
Let
did
him
they
run
lost
around.
yeah, they lost that when they lost Livingston. They didn't have that guy, right? So once they lost that type of ability, you could tell that even with that latest run when they won, it was wearing on them a little bit because they couldn't take him out because if you took him out, they didn't have a point guard or the backup point guard was the guy. It was like the backup point guard, and that's why they thought Chris Paul was going to be perfect, but then they didn't have the other pieces. So
Yeah,
and
I could
Jordan,
see.
that's why they thought Jordan Poole was supposed to be the guy, but Jordan Poole wound up screwing the pooch for himself and then got kicked out. So
I could definitely see Golden State making some type of splash that, like you said, brings in a point guard, or even they just relieve themselves of Kaminga and who's the guy?
Moody and a couple of other
Yeah,
guys,
like those two are the real big ones, Moody and Kaminga, who
right?
though they keep saying, "Yeah, I love being here. I'm part of this team." You don't want to be here. You both said shit last year where you were pissed that you were coming off the bench. You think you're starters. Okay. If you think that and there's a good player that Golden State can get for your salary or both your salaries combined,
Hmm.
they're going to get rid of you and they're going to go see if you can prove yourself because then you're going to get a contract. Um,
Right.
but I could see that those, I could agree. I can agree with Golden State making a
Yeah.
splash
Because I
because,
mean, yeah, because I don't see any. I mean, if you really think about it, is there anybody else in the NBA, and especially in the Western Conference? It's not even- The Eastern Conference, I think, is pretty much set for what it is. You're really not going to get much of a splash other than, not unless Boston or Philly or somebody else decides to make a move, but highly doubt that. Um, although if the Knicks get rid of who's the other big man that
oh, Robinson.
yeah, if they get
I've
rid of
heard that that was a rumor.
Yeah, if they get rid of him and they bring somebody back that actually can play alongside Karl Anthony Towns, that'd be a splash, but I highly doubt it. Um, but yeah, I think the West is that. I think the West is because the East is pretty much set the way it is.
Yeah, we
I
have
think
the Cavs are number one, Boston's two, New York's three, Milwaukee's four,
mm,
Orlando's five.
and once you get
Vancouver's
past
six.
yeah, and once you get past six, that's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot wherever you look at. It's a crapshoot.
You know what though? A surprising team is Detroit, who's got 21 games that they've won this year, which is phenomenal because they haven't won more than like 10 games in 17 years at this point, it
Cade
feels
Cade
like.
Cade Cunningham is really playing well.
But they also they were smart this offseason in what they got trade wise, using their picks correctly,
Hmm.
and developing those young guys and bringing in a
Hmm.
coach that can help do that. So I think they're gonna be
There was a rumor I saw there earlier that they were talking about Zach LaVine without without Warriors making like a major trade. They were talking about bringing Zach LaVine in and get rid of Kaminga, Moody, and Gary Payton the second, I think. Yeah, Gary Payton the second,
Mhm.
and sending them Chicago and letting Chicago start trying to dilute, to start to pump out what just so they can like just relieve everything. Like just like Kaminga's going to be there and all these other guys are going to be there, and it's like, okay, well, if you work out this year, we'll keep you. If not, we'll.
The only thing I would the only thing I would say about if like say Detroit wanted to do that, say like they were part of that deal, right?
Mm,
Where it's like, oh, you can't use all these players and you get the salary. The salaries wouldn't match, right?
got you. Right.
So like, say like Detroit's in, like, hey,
Mm,
we'll get involved. Like both teams, though Chicago's below 500, they're in 10th. They're three
mm,
games above, 2 games above the 76ers for the final
mm,
spot in the
mm,
play-in.
right.
Do you go mess with what you have? They all know that Levine doesn't want to be there. We get that.
Right.
But who else can you bring in? Like if you bring in Kaminga, Kaminga's good. Moody's good. But are they as good as what Zach LaVine on an off night can bring you?
Right.
And you're just bringing Lonzo Ball back up to speed.
Right.
Kobe White's playing very, very good basketball.
Right.
He has been the past 2 years. But like, do you take that chance? And you're not going to be able to grab two or three of those players for Levine's salary. You're going to have to figure out somebody else to come in to
Hmm.
balance it, or you're going to cut players. So say like Detroit's involved, which
Hmm.
is a great team that could use more players too. Like, do you take that potential? Or do you say, hey, you know what? We'll look at it in the offseason because in the offseason we reevaluate the team's needs. So that's going to be the question mark for teams,
Yeah.
especially like those two, or
Mm,
even say like Phoenix and Sacramento. Like they're both in the 9-10 seed in their respective conferences.
mm,
Do you make that chance move to go get somebody that could help,
right.
or is it detrimental? Like your top four seeds aren't going to make any trade moves.
Right.
They're not. There's no reason for any of them except maybe the Knicks get rid of Robinson and just say get us a big that can do something else.
Right.
Like go get Isaiah Hicks from down in Orlando, the kid who's
Right.
always hurt.
Right.
So go get him, but he's good offensively, better than Robinson offensively.
Right.
Not as good. So there's going to be that question mark.
Right.
But it is interesting, like you said.
Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, and I don't know, it's just right now, and like I said, and then like I said, if we go back to college for like 2 seconds and look at some of the guys that are coming out in the draft for in college, right? You got the kids out of Rutgers. You got one of the kids out of Rutgers that may be coming out. They're talking about how good he is, and they're pumping his head up, talking about he's a top 5 or 6 pick or whatever it is. So you talk about he may be coming out, and then his running mate is right there. Then you talk about Cooper Flagg, and then they're talking about maybe having another guy from the SEC or so, So there's about honestly there's about 5 or 6 guys that are going
Hmm.
to be impactful coming out of college. Now, as far as the rest of them, to your point, they're probably majority of them probably going to be role players or middle of the pack guys. Question out to your point. Do you sell the farm so you can get draft picks so you can worry about this year or next year's draft? Or to your point, do I stay pat, wait till the off season, let see what the dust clears, see where I fall at? If you wind up being like the eighth seed and we were at the 11th at the end near towards the middle of the season, we kind of being eighth at the very end, maybe some minor tinker things that you need to take care of.
Hmm.
Or if you're at fifth and you fall to 11th at the end of the season, maybe you blow everything up. Maybe
Start
Milwaukee's one of
over.
those teams. Milwaukee says, "Hey, I got to blow everything up and start all over again because I know Giannis won't be here if we're not putting it together, and I don't feel like doing it." So now they blow everything up. Now, you got a team like the Bucks that are essentially starting over. So
And
it's a tough pill to swallow now. When then, like I said, it's just you really. I think to your point, I think what's going to happen is I think if there is going to be a splash, it's going to be a couple teams.
yeah,
It's going to be a lot of mid. It's going to be a lot of mid-level trades, probably with the top four teams, something like that. A lot of mid-level trades just to get rid of money, bring
yeah,
in
you're
some extra.
just gotta move money around at this point. Like the Celtics,
Well, then,
I
yeah,
saw
then they all.
one.
They also got the thing afterwards. They do the free agent thing. I forget what they call it, but
Yeah,
whatever. Like after they do the trades, like the everybody either cuts or gets rid of these guys because they were salary dumps, and they come into another team and
yeah,
just for they'll come to a contender just to make minimum wage and have a
yeah,
chance to win.
yeah.
So
Like it'll be interesting the next couple of weeks, see what happens with the teams. Like, you know, can here's a good example. The Magic are playing Celtics are down by 12 at halftime.
mm,
Celtics technically are the second best team in the NBA.
mm,
They're tied 1-1 with the Cavs this year. Cavs just have had a great schedule and they've played great basketball. Then they've all
right,
stayed healthy.
right,
Um, do the Magic look at it and say, are we a couple pieces away? Are we one piece away from being a two or a three or two seed or a one
mm,
seed?
right,
So those questions will start popping up in the next couple of weeks,
right,
really the next week or so before they start making those deals.
right.
Um, but I'm intrigued to see what happens. It's always fun this time of year as an NBA fan. Um, I honestly think I've watched more NBA basketball than I have in years this
This
year.
should have been a lot. This should have been a lot more intriguing. Just been a lot more intriguing. Especially with everybody saying that this might possibly be the last couple of years that we see a KD, a Steph, a LeBron around. Those guys are probably making their way, maybe making their way out of making their way out of the limelight, you know,
Yeah.
if and you know. I mean, the other thing is this, I'll say this is a hot take. I do believe that this will be the last year Kawhi Leonard will be a viable superstar to play. I think wherever
Hmm.
Kawhi Leonard goes at after this year, whether it be via trade or he gets released for whatever reason, I think if he goes to a team where he plays like 20, 25 minutes, I give you an example. If he went to the Sixers and he played 20, 25 minutes, 55 games, I think that team right there might get a run to the finals.
Yeah.
Just just because he's not asked to do much. He can come in, play 20, 25. He may not, he could end the game. He doesn't have to start it. He could end the game.
Now, here's the question. Is everyone on the Sixers healthy or are they all hurt?
Well, that's why I said him playing 55 games works out because now just imagine if Embiid is hurt. Now you don't have to worry about playing that brand of basketball because you've got another guy that you can now say,
True.
you know, hey, this is what you're going to do, have him play. I just need you to keep us in the game and keep us in the top five in the East, right?
Yep.
Or
I
he
agree.
or he can or he can go to a team like Golden State. But I think he needs to go to like a team that's like one piece away. He needs a guy on the bench that can come in, give him a little spark, but he doesn't need to do it all the time. So I think that's my hot take on that. As far as the NBA goes, I think that's because that Clipper team is bound to implode. Like I don't really see them keeping that. Yeah, it's coming close.
Yeah.
New arena. They need something fresh. They need people coming in. Need to make some moves.
Yep. Well, let's talk real quick. Cognizant of the time just because I'm even
Yeah,
starting to get tired, which is
yeah,
ridiculous. I want to talk quickly about Unrivaled.
yeah. I
I
seen that.
am they start tonight. I don't know when the first game was tonight, but they play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday
Mm,
on TNT.
right,
And then they're on the weekends.
right.
I'm actually thoroughly intrigued by this because I was reading more about it. So it's 3-on-3, 6 players per team. They're on a smaller court, and
Mm,
it's back and forth. So it's not like the big three, where
mm,
it's a half court. It is I'd say 3/4 length court, right?
mm.
But make it fun. And then they also do a one-on-one tournament, like single elimination. You win a shitload of money if you win that.
Queen of the court. Got you. Yeah.
Like I'm sad this is all just in being done in Miami because I would actually love to go see this, but I'm not going to Miami for this basketball event. So maybe they'll change it up. Maybe they'll move it to a different area. I understand why they do Miami, why they picked there because it's a nice spot. It's warm, whatever. But I am excited to see this. It's going to be cool to watch how some of these women who are rivals
Mm.
play on the same team make this work. So I think it'll be pretty cool to watch
I,
at this
I think
point.
it will be too. But I think what this also does now is some of those players that want that some of this. I'm not going to say not everybody, but some of the star players that didn't want to go overseas now have to deal with all that stuff can now stay home and
Yeah.
still keep that same skill set. My only thing would be what happens if everybody now wants to come join in, right? Do you expand to your point? Do you expand and go to other cities?
Hmm.
Do you expand to stay in the same city and just, maybe like you say, maybe you run your schedule instead of that 4 day weekend or whatever it is, maybe you pick up the extra days that the NBA is not using. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So that's the only thing I would say. Sometimes you gotta, it's nice that they've done it. I'm not poo-pooing that they should do it. I think maybe you gotta Yeah, I know it's experimental. Just watch what you're doing with it because you don't want it to expand into something where you can't control it and then
Right.
lose
It,
control of it.
it's one of those where let's see how they do this year. Like you said,
Right,
if more players after this season and the girls, the women that are part of it this year go start hyping up, going, yo, straight up, greatest thing we've ever done.
right.
Like, I'm not going overseas. Now, majority, and let's be honest, the majority
Bless
of the women that are playing in this
you.
aren't the girls that women that are going overseas.
Right,
To be frank, like these are the women that are top the athletes,
right,
top the WNBA. Granted, Angel Reese is in it, but she's making, 75, $80,000 a year.
right,
And she can't afford her $8,000 a month apartment. I don't know why. But like there's all those. So you're not getting the lower tier player that
right,
would have to go play overseas. So can you expand? Like you said, if you expand, you have what, 6 teams? Can you go to 12?
right,
It's still competitive. You can still do 3-on-3.
right.
Maybe you can. They're short games. It's only like 7-minute quarters or something. It's very quick.
Hmm.
Um, so like keep it the same length, but can you maybe have another court,
Right,
right? Maybe have two courts going on at the same time,
right,
which would be interesting because maybe you split it. If you do that, and as a viewer at home, you could do picture in picture, right? But
right,
instead of doing picture in picture, it's just the same area. So it's like two games on TNT, and I'm going, oh, oh, oh. So
right.
there's other things they can do, but I would love to see how this year goes. Like you said, financially, does it make sense? Can you continue to do it?
Mm,
Um, because I'd rather see these women play here than have to travel overseas and play
right.
somewhere else where it's tougher for them. But it would be intriguing, nonetheless, to see what happens. And if they can expand it and maybe it's like, hey, we're gonna have a weekend in Boston.
Mm,
Do they do like the big three where they travel different cities?
right,
So that'll be the interesting part if that's what happens.
right.
Um, I'll mention one thing before we end this is everyone enjoy the craziness of NFL football this weekend or the Super Bowl by the time we get this episode out.
Right.
But let's be honest, I am straight up rooting for the Bills to win everything this year. I'm I think they can do it, but I'm rooting for Bills Lions Super Bowl. That's all I really want. I want to see two hard-nosed players and coaches and everything go at each other. This is going to be some awesome shit.
I do too, but we know as much as listen, and I say this way, I know we aren't like premier top athletes, but at some point in time, we played some level above high school, so you sort of understand the mindset of the above average player, right?
Yeah.
How to get ramped up and know that listen, when I go out there, I see red. I'm going out there, I'm trying to take, rip somebody's heads off and, you know, trying to win it all. That's my mentality, right?
Hmm.
And I just for the life of me, I want the Bills to do it because I'm just tired of hearing the narrative about them, right? But I also know that that guy that talks like Kermit the Frog just doesn't like to lose.
Yeah.
And it's just a tough pill to swallow when you constantly keep giving him down by 4, 2 minutes left, and he can go the whole field and make you it just make you feel like, you know, I really gave him a minute, or 2 minutes. A minute's too long. I gave
They
him a
gave him
minute to get
27 seconds. That motherfucker still won.
right. So
Yeah.
it's just, and I would love to see the Lions go again. I would love to root for the underdog in some of these things, but you can also see like the NFL is. That's why I think the NFL is. No, I'll say this to close all out, right? I think the NFL is. You can tell who the well coached and well disciplined team is, as opposed to the team that just has a lot of talent. You could tell, like you could tell, like Kansas City should be nowhere near where they're at this year, right? With the
No,
with
they're
the guys,
horrible.
but
Talent-wise, they're horrible.
they are. So at some point in time, they are just a well planned, well oiled machine.
Mhm.
The Bills are just a very talented team, right? But if they can play discipline, they'll win. But you don't know which Bills team you're getting sometimes.
That's
I,
true.
and you say the same thing about the Eagles team. The Eagles are a very, 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 very talented team, but you don't know what team you're getting at sometimes. So I truly believe that I think that it's going to come down to, and it's probably going to be the Chiefs, and it's probably going to wind up being the Lions. I don't see any other team, you know, beating out anybody. The Rams are done. Rams are done after this year. Um, Rams are done. Eagles, if the Eagles comes close to getting with the Lions just have too much firepower, and you got to score 30 plus points. You have to in order to beat them. Um, who else is in there? Like I don't
You have the Ravens versus Bills this weekend, Texans versus Chiefs, Rams versus Eagles, Lions versus
Lions,
Commanders.
right? And the Commanders are just a very young team. Again, nice players, nice team, but
Too young.
it's too young. So I mean, again, experience and discipline take over. And right now, the Lions are that team. So I can see the Lions and the Chiefs. Unfortunately, I would love to see it be the Bills or Ravens, but I don't see that happening. And the Ravens don't even have a number one receiver right now because the dude is on the IR, or not IR, but he's not. I don't even
I
think
think
he's
he's
playing
playing.
this.
Zay Flowers, I don't think he's playing.
No, he's not even playing.
So, well, it'll be interesting. Cyrus, I'll text Kevin to see if we can get some of that information for his event
Yes,
that
sir.
you can come. But sir, it's always a pleasure to see you. Hopefully,
Say pleasure.
we'll see you soon, and in a few months again, and maybe a few
Well,
months after that.
sir, as you've seen on the other podcast, as I said, I've gotten rid of my Sunday on my second job, so I don't work Sundays no more. So my Sundays are open, and in another couple of weeks, maybe slash month, I may be getting rid of one more day too. Not really sure yet. I'll be getting rid of another day.
We'll keep that on the DL.
Yeah. So
But
yeah, no,
I'll, I
I
guess I'll
will
try
be
to do the
around.
outro.
Huh?
I guess I'll try to do the outro.
Yeah.
But, well, thanks y'all for joining us. Um, you listen to the ramblings of two crazy old guys and talking
Yeah.
about college basketball and basketball in general, basically tonight. So hopefully you enjoyed it. You can follow us at Manly Musings Podcast on Instagram and all other socials. I know we've been a little quiet on them lately. Just life is kind of lifing right now. We'll get back to it, I promise. It's just going to take some time. But follow me, Merritt_P on Instagram. You can follow Cyrus on his Instagram, maybe. If he feels like sharing it, he don't have to.
Well, it's CK Johnson is at CK Johnson Jr. Like
If you
it's
want, if you want to follow someone on his weight loss journey like Kevin and get back in shape, like all of us in our mid to like midlife crisis mode, yeah, follow him. But yeah, thank you again for joining. We will be back hopefully next week. If not, we'll be back the following week with a great episode. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Wait, how do I turn this off again? Oh, there it is.